Yeah, I went out hunting with my buddy Pete, and we went to a spot that he showed me originally many years ago. And he went on one end of the property, I went to the other end, and I went to a place I scouted in spring, but I hadn't really been in a lot. And I found a funnel of real heavy deer traffic between a doe and buck bedding area, and it just looked like a good spot to set up. So I kind of went in there. Um, and I found that area. The trouble was it was all buckthorn. And what I remembered from spring is that there was a couple of box elder trees in there that looked like you could set up in them. But getting down there now, all the leaves were off of them. And if you set up in there, you'd glow. They were pretty small trees to begin with. So I got in there, and it looked like there's a lot of sign. You could see where the bucks were going down trails that had, like little caves that went into the thick cover where they'd get their antlers through. And you could see the big tracks and all those little cave trails coming out, and fresh tracks and real big. So I knew there was something big running in there. It all looked like the same track and lots of them. So he had to be right around in there. And I really struggled with a setup. And I ended up in like one of those invasive species, what are those, buckthorn tree.
Mm-hmm.
That was really nasty. I got to stand up about 4 feet off the ground. But you know that buckthorn is, it kills all the vegetation underneath.
Yeah.
You could not sit on the ground. But just at 4 feet off the ground, elevating my feet, I could nestle myself into the trunk with all them thorny branches. And there's a little natural hole there. And got inside of that tree. And I no more than got set up, and I was doing my intro on the video. And I hear something, and I look up, and there's a buck walking in, and I get the camera on the opening, and there's an opening that's going to, walk right by me at 25 yards, maybe even closer, 20, 25, somewhere right in there. And I get the camera on there, and I get the bow up, and I could have rushed a shot, but I didn't want to wound it after what happened the first time, so I just let him walk, and I'm figuring he's just going to keep walking because he's not walking in a direction I have a shot.
Yeah.
He's walking in the thick cover if he gets through that. So I just let him go. And he starts rubbing all these trees in there and just attacking those trees. And then when he got down to like the third tree, he turned and started going like 90 degrees and coming back through. And I'm like, oh, I have an opening over there, and it looked like he was going to hit that opening. And I had ranged that opening, but I couldn't quite range it because the rangefinder kept picking up stuff before that, like twigs and stuff. And I figured it was about 30 yards. And I aimed a little high, figuring if my arrow didn't really drop, and the deer drops a little, I'd hit spine.
Yeah.
If it didn't drop, I'd hit the top of the lungs where I was aiming. If it dropped a little, it'd be through the middle of the lungs. I mean, it was a pretty much slam dunk shot, even, at 30 yards.
Yeah, and you should probably say like you only have one pin, so you're aiming high with your kind of your 20-yard pin.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I didn't have time to really change it, but I took the shot, and it looked to me from my point of view like that arrow just sunk right through the vitals. And but what caught me off guard was when the buck ran, I heard the arrow hit brush.
Mm-hmm.
That's a distinct noise if you've ever heard it.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was odd because the arrow should just zipped right through it. And I thought, well, maybe I caught the far shoulder. And I was all excited. I thought I blasted that thing. It was a big buck.
Yeah, it looked like a nice one.
Yeah. So I got down, went over there, and got on the track and found no blood. And 10 yards from where I shot him, where I heard the arrow in the brush, my arrow was laying there with the broadhead pulled out, and about a half inch of blood, if you want to even call it that, more like meat.
Yeah.
On the arrow. And luckily it was a very soft earth down there, like swampy.
Yeah.
I was able to just follow his footprints. And he ran about 50 yards and then started walking. and just wandering down the trails. And I found 3 drops of blood total.
Mm-hmm.
And he had turned around and followed this river. And then he J-hooked and spun around and was watching his back trail. When I walked past him, he stood up and hopped away, and he looked fine. He even looked back at me. Didn't even look like he was injured. So going over the footage when I got home, because I could not figure out what happened. First, I was thinking I shot him in the shoulder, but really in the shoulder, you'd even sink deeper than that. You'd sink into the blade a little bit, shoulder blade or whatever. But looking over the footage, the deer dropped, and my arrow really didn't drop that much. I dropped about an inch. So aiming high at the top of the lungs, when he dropped, my arrow hit the spine, which I was planning for. I had the spine to the bottom of the lungs, which is a pretty big area on that nice broad shot. And I figured if I hit the spine, I got him anyways, because you're gonna break the spine. But that's 1 in 100 shot that doesn't break the spine was that shot.
Yeah, that's crazy. I've never seen one hit in the spine and it not, paralyze them.
Yeah. A lot of people were, a lot of people are saying you need to use a heavier arrow. I'm already using a pretty heavy arrow. You need to use a cut on contact, 1 bevel broadhead and stuff. I do kind of like those 1 bevel broadheads, but as far as the heavy arrow, I wouldn't have been able to shoot 30 yards with a heavy arrow without having it right down to the pin because of how far I drop. 30 yards I can shoot straight on with my bow, pretty much.
Right.
The only reason I was aiming a little high is if I was off on the yardage and it was 35 or something like that. But it was pretty much 30.
Yeah. What poundage do you shoot? 60 pounds?
I shoot 50.
You shoot 50. Okay. Yeah, that's another thing is like you get a heavy arrow and shoot 50 pounds. It's like kind of a double whammy with your pin gap, if you want to call it. I know you don't have pins per se. You just got 1 pin, but.
Yeah, I had a company send me a bunch of heavy arrows to try out and stuff. Man, I couldn't do anything with them. After 10 yards, I couldn't shoot nothing with my bow's not heavy enough for that.
Yeah. I'm shooting 70 pounds and I was in Ohio last week. Not a whole lot to talk about with Ohio last week, but I was just there for 2 days. But yeah, I got to thinking like about adjusting my bow down to 65 pounds for the cold weather and stuff. Cause I had one hunt where I sat on the ground and I was kind of sitting on my butt, and your bow's like twice as hard to pull back whenever you don't have your lower body, engaged or anything. And I was like, I was like, man.
I kind of like being able to do, it's not a contest of strength. So I like to slowly pull a bow back when a deer's there without him jerky movement or, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
Reason to have that lower poundage.
No. And this was just because I was in some awkward, like I was sitting on a log that was, on the ground kind of thing. But still, I still want to be able to controllably pull my bow back in those scenarios, especially on the ground. You can't afford to make some weird movement when you're sitting on the ground. But yeah. Someone asked if you had a rangefinder on the hunt. You did. Yeah. It's hard to like whenever you're in those tight scenarios, if you haven't hunted down in like those swamps like that, it's extremely difficult to range something as a deer's coming in. I
had tried to range find it before he went there. I did see that hole and I did range find it, but the hole was only 6 foot round at 30 yards, and the rangefinder was picking up stuff to the outsides of the hole. Right. So every time I'd range it, it'd say 20, 19, and it's not 19 or 20, and I know that.
Yeah.
You hit the ground in front of it, and it's it's 27. It's got to be about 30. So.
Right, it is what it is.
Right.
Tough scenario. I was just looking through the comments here. There's some people asking questions, but I think we covered them all right there about this particular scenario. But yeah, like 4 years ago, I had a bow season where I wounded 2 bucks. Mine were both shoulder shots though, like dead center of the shoulder. that's pretty deflating whenever you shoot one in the shoulder and it just like you said, like you could just see the arrow just kind of going like that out of the thing.
It's like I don't know what causes it, but I go through stages like where every deer I see just falls over dead.
Yep.
And you just can't stop killing them if you want them dead. And then you go into these stages where you can't kill them when they're right there. I don't.
Oh yeah, I know. I've probably had 2 cycles like that. Like I said, one was a few years ago, and one was when I was younger. I had a rough season back then too, and it sucks. You feel like you don't. I mean, you don't even feel like yourself. It's like, what is going on with me?
There's a video on the page from a few years back. I mean, probably like 4 or 5 years back, where I did a video called "Can't Hardly Hit 'Em."
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Oh well, you got time. Hopefully, you're gonna.
Carol says it's time for me to admit I need glasses.
I would agree with her. I don't know if that's your problem or not, but I've seen you look at your phone and whatnot. So, yeah. Glasses are. I wear contacts. I can't shoot without my contacts in.
Hey everybody, if you like the channel, make sure you subscribe right here. And if you like the clips, I got 2 more options for you. 2 options right here. Subscribe right here. See you guys.